Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Now, our show is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify and on my YouTube channel. Now, if you want to simply listen to us or you can want to watch us on YouTube, well, you have the choice and we leave that up to you. My name is CJ Edmunds. This is the 7th episode of the second season, but the 13th overall for the podcast. So, 7 plus 5. Should I be nervous? No, because I don't believe in the power of 13. But if you do, then today's guest would be a shoo-in. Now, she is a dark fantasy writer whose stories are interlaced with horror and psychology. Now, she has written mostly her stories on Wattpad, like Rage of Whispers, The Love Letters of Cell 24/7, The Trial of Alyssa Miller, just to name a few. Now, her first book in print at the time of this recording will be published by 8 Letters, and that is entitled Samantha's Keeper. This is actually book 1 of a trilogy. The name of the trilogy is called Ballad of the Dead Birds, and we will have to ask why that is the name of the trilogy. Is there like a fascination for dead birds? I don't know. Could it be an X-Files episode wherein birds will just fall from the sky and just drop dead on your, your footstep? On your feet. I don't know. But at least we have 2 more to expect. And of course, by this time the episode airs, the book would have been available to order. All right. Now, could she be one of the writers who wanted to be a psychiatrist before and probably do writing at the same time? I don't know. Why don't we ask her personally? Hello and welcome, J. Fabroa, to Urban Fantasy PH. Yay!
Hello, Casey. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening to our friends in the West. I'm so
Yeah,
glad to be here and thank you for having me.
always welcome. And welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. For those who are not familiar with your work and who may or may not have heard of you, can you give us a little background as to who you are, perhaps outside of writing, or probably before you started writing? That is, before the writing bug hit you.
Well, before I started writing, well, let's just say you mentioned whether I wanted to become a psychiatrist. I did. Unfortunately,
Oh,
I
okay.
studied sociology instead.
Okay.
Anything that has to do with human interaction, those are the things that I love to study. And well, what else? I've worked at a call center for almost 10 years before I got married. And after getting married, I decided to settle down and focus on my kids. But when it comes to writing, I've always wanted to become a writer. I started writing at a young age, say 8, 9. I joined a ton of competitions during my elementary days. But after that, writing just sort of drifted away. I don't know what happened. But when COVID hit, that's when I decided to go back to writing. And it's a very dark phase in my life, and writing helped me release all there are things that happen. I'm not going to get into details about that.
That's okay. We're not gonna ask. Whatever you're comfortable with saying. But yeah, I can imagine it was a dark place, definitely for everyone when COVID hit. There was nothing
Right.
for you to do except to stay home and of course binge Netflix. That is if you are a subscriber of Netflix. But if in case you are a writer, yeah, your productivity really just shoots up way to the top because there's really nothing else to do. So yeah, sorry to continue on as you were saying.
Oh, no, it's okay. Well, it has more to do with my toddler, really, because when I gave birth, that's when COVID struck. And
Oh
I
no.
think I suffered postpartum because I wasn't allowed to go out. I was stuck inside the house with a colicky toddler, with a colicky baby. She kept
Mm.
crying all the time. The frustration just started building up, and I needed some sort of release. And that's when I decided to start writing again. It helped me. It helped me to release all of the frustrations I felt inside. And it's not easy taking care of a baby.
I can imagine. I can imagine. If there's anyone out there who says that being a mother is not a 9 a.m. to 5 job, or probably a 24-hour job, you are sadly mistaken. Please change your perception. It is not easy being a parent. I'm not a parent, but I am a parent to two dogs. But that is the closest thing I can probably get to being a real parent. But I can imagine, yes, a toddler to boot.
At first, I thought I was one of those who thought that it was easy. But apparently, it's not.
No, no, no. It's not easy
Not.
because you will
Not
have
easy.
to divert your effort, your time to another person. Where at the same time, at the back of your head, it's like, okay, when will I have time for me? When will I have time to create? When will I have time to be inspired? Because this is all I do. Routine, routinary, and I don't know how long I can take it. But it's good that you have writing to fall back on, and I'm sure that a lot of authors during the pandemic and still currently who try to balance their lives will be thankful that they have something creative to fall back on. Now,
That
in a previous podcast where my guests delve much into horror, let me throw the question at you as well, and that is, what is the appeal of the dark side of fantasy for you? I mean, why do you choose to write in this genre? What is it about dark fantasy and horror that appeals to you?
first of all, I want everyone to know that what I write is always based on my emotions. And like
Okay.
I said, there were a lot of things happen in my life. I trip even on pebbles. Let's put it at that. And
Mm-hmm.
horror for me, the sense of foreboding, the sense of dread, I think I've been experiencing that my whole life. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the appeal. I've learned to live with it. It became a part of me. And I think that is probably why I fell in love with dark fantasy. There's just something about it. The the thought of the unknown,
Okay.
the
All
what
right.
if.
I get it. I get it. I get that. I get that appeal. We all have those thoughts and wondering. Will I be the lucky person that will come into contact with an extraterrestrial when I open my front door this morning? I don't know. Or will
That's
I
true.
be lucky enough to catch a ghost on my camera and I'll upload it on YouTube and I'll be famous? I don't know.
That's true. That's
Do
true.
you yeah, those kind of things. But do you have let's say a favorite horror or dark fantasy book or film that you've always found inspiring, and you would go back to it whenever you need some motivation? Because my favorite author, Anne Rice, rest her soul, would watch either the films Amadeus or Immortal Beloved that stars Gary Oldman, the brilliant Gary Oldman, and she would be off and running whenever she watches those films because it will inspire her to write.
We have the same favorite. I love Anne
Oh,
Rice. I'm a
yes.
huge Anne Rice fan and Stephen King.
Yay!
I grew up
Yeah.
reading her work, which is probably why you'll see a bit of the way she writes in how I write.
Mm-hmm,
Those are one
mm-hmm.
of the things that I received in my comment section in Wattpad. Well, you asked me if there's a particular movie. I don't have one, but what I do is I read. I don't always watch films. I spend most of my time just reading. And when it comes to Anne Rice, one of my favorite is The Violin.
Oh, she oh, actually her son, or if not part of her team, reposted Violin, and they're celebrating that particular standalone novel, and with memorable quotes and everything that Anne has done to make that book what it is. I mean, it is. Anne
It
did
is
say that.
unique.
Yeah, it is unique, and Anne did say that the that writing the book really took her to a dark place, and that's what she does, and that's what happens to her. A work will bring her to a dark place, and then when you're done with the work, it's like you go into sort of a depression because the whole thing just comes out of you, and you feel that you have nothing else to give. Do you feel that whenever you finish one book, you feel like, okay, I'm done, wala na akong maisusulat pa?
Yes, I do. That's why I always, other writers, they would always ask me, why do you end your book around 120,000 words? Can't you expand it a bit? I told them quality over quantity. If I have nothing else to say, then that's
Hmm.
it. When it's done, it is done. I mean, trying to stretch a story further than it should, it'll
Hmm.
just destroy the plot. I don't
Okay.
know about others, but for me, that's what I believe. I mean, if it
Hmm.
is done, then it is done.
Right. And if you get inspired, let's say by writing a spin-off story based on one of the previous characters, then it will happen. It's not something that you feel that you have to do, right?
True. That is correct. That is true. That
Yeah.
is true.
You said that you don't watch films much, but would there be, let's say, a film version of a book that you loved, and that you wish that they had not changed so much in the adaptation?
I wish that they did not change so much. The recent Netflix adaptation of Witching Hour.
Oh God, yes.
I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, yeah. Wait,
I'm
not
sorry.
not
I
not just
know there are
witching
those
hour.
who loves it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
just
But you
that's
know what?
not how.
In fairness to the witching hour, I still could bear the changes with witching hour. What I could not bear were the changes to the miniseries interview with a
Interview
vampire.
with a
That was like,
Vampire.
when they released the first two episodes. Okay, I will give it a shot. I will give it a try. But after the second episode, okay,
No.
it's hard for me to continue because they changed it so much. They
That's
changed it so much,
true.
and some people
I
like the changes, and some people like it, and I don't
I
know.
mean, for those who love the story, for those who had read it over and over, it's just unacceptable. I actually posted a rant about it. It's I don't know about others. I think the newer generation, they are loving it. I think they changed it in a way that it will appeal to the newer generation.
Yes, they did
That's
that.
what I think.
They
But
they purposely did that.
you know,
I
it
have a
just
feeling.
it just takes away that essence. It takes away that I don't want I don't want to say anything negative about it
I
because
know.
there
I
are
mean,
a lot of loves.
we among the group also have our own, opinions about that. But I wondered how Anne was, or how they were able to make Anne agree to change the ethnicity first and foremost of Louis. Louis Louis is supposed to be white, and yes, he lives in New Orleans, but he is not Creole. He's not supposed to be dark skinned. So I don't know what made them change that. Maybe because of this, woke thing, that everything has to be,
Representation.
yeah, representation, everything has to be woke, and that's why they did that. So okay, perhaps. But there's also one thing that I didn't like was Lestat values each and every drop of blood. And then when you see
Yes.
the Lestat in the show just tore through the priest's neck, like sloppy, sloppy eating, that's not what Lestat is. That's not who he is. So why did you
Lestat,
have to change it?
yeah, that's true because there's some measured fluidity in the way he moves, the way he does things. I mean, there's a perfection in him in the book that I don't see in the adaptation.
True. And for those who are just listening to us now, or just starting to realize that this is more of a rant than an episode. I'm sorry, but we just get started on this, and I
It's
mean,
difficult because if you love something, it's not that easy when they turn it into something that's
that's totally different from what that you something that you loved or grew up on. So, but here
True.
that was part one. But here's part two for a change. And the part of the question is there an adaptation, be it a film or TV series, that you liked and you think worked because of the changes that they made from the book?
Hmm. Let me see. What movie? I can't think of any film. I mean, when they adapted The Haunting of Bly Manor, it was good, but hmm,
I still prefer Hill House than Bly Manor, though. Um, Bly Manor
Hill
was
House.
slightly dragging, and
True.
you really have to pay attention to the way Mike Flanagan, creates his his series and how it's paced and all. But I felt that Hill House was much better. Um, for me to answer, just to kind of like get you started, one thing that I liked, and I don't know if you're a fan of Lee Bardugo. She writes YA, young adult fantasy. She is the one responsible for the Grishaverse, or the Shadow and Bone TV series on Netflix. And I don't know how many Grishas out there are listening. And what they did was they combined the characters from the original trilogy and inserted other characters from another duology. But these two works are part of the same universe. They just live on two different continents. So they figured, okay, since they're happening in the same universe, why not put them all together? And I thought that was crazy because that's not how the book was supposed to be. But somehow it worked. So kudos to the writers who were able to do that. And if Jay, if you have not tried reading Shadow and Bone. I don't know if you're into YA, and if you love any young adult books like that, then give it a shot, give it a try. And
I'll give it a shot. I haven't read that
Shadow
book,
and
but
Bone.
I think I will give it a shot. I'll
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
copy of it.
yeah, yeah,
I'm not really a fan of YA anymore.
not anymore. The series
Not anymore.
is has not anymore. There's season one on Netflix, so you can give it a shot if you like it. And season
I
two will
think
be coming out
some of the books,
this March.
some of the recent YA I read left a bad taste in my mouth, so I stopped reading. But I will
Well,
try reading that book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess is not for everybody, but for the proliferation of YA, we have Twilight to thank for that. We have the Mortal Instruments to thank for that. We have I guess you can classify Harry Potter as YA in a way because of the age of the
In a way.
characters. Yeah, but it's still considered fantasy. But yeah, whatever genre, we try to read as much as we can in order to broaden our horizons. But as always, the debate whether to strictly adapt the source material as it is a hard debate to conclude, much less win. As
True.
film or TV adaptations will always have to change things in order to fit the medium. So that I get. But as I said, like what we said about Interview with the Vampire, to change a character's ethnicity because of casting decisions, or in order for the adaptation to look more inclusive, or let's say make the character black, Asian, or even these gays in comics, to make the character gay just to please the diversified audience, can sometimes be overwhelming. One character recast that got fans up in arms, and I don't know if you feel the same way, was the casting of Hermione Granger in the stage production of the latest Harry Potter book, which is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I don't know if you're a big Harry Potter fan. I'm not sure if you've read Cursed Child. I liked it. I loved it, and I hope that they bring a touring production to Asia. Uh, Hopefully, but I'm digressing. But Rowling said that Hermione Granger is not black. Granger is not white, nor is she mixed race or any other ethnicity. Now, she is a blank canvas for the reader to draw upon or to project themselves on. and to reflect their own appearance if they wish. So, do you feel that when you do write your characters, and we're slowly going off into the craft questioning, um, do you purposely envision a particular ethnicity for a character before you write, or sometimes in the middle of the writing you decide that, you know what, I think this character should be Asian, oh, I think this character should be Filipino? Do you discover that along the way when you write?
My side characters, yes. But for my main characters, never.
Okay.
Because I've always, one of the things, comments that I always read from reviews and other writers, they'd always say that I imagined this person to look like this, and then when it comes to the third chapter, the author starts saying she's this ethnicity, this is how he looks, she looks. So what I do is I just give a general description of them, just few, and then I'll leave it to the readers. I'll
Hmm.
let them I'll let them be whoever they want to be.
Okay.
I'll let them think of these characters as whoever they want, unless there's a specific thing about that character that I need to, let's just say I need to, ano ba yun? Hindi ko na maano.
That's okay. you,
That I
you
need
you need
to,
to that probably if their ethnicity is integral to the storyline, then you will
yes, if
not
it is
change it.
integral to the story, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
you won't
That's the
change it that way.
only time.
Mm.
But most of the time, I don't. I don't.
Okay.
I'll leave it to the
How
reader's
about, yeah,
imagination.
you leave it to the readers. Yeah, there's always that fine line of when to say as much and when to say, little. There will be authors who would describe their readers' faces down to, I mean, really, really
Down to the,
descriptive.
yeah,
The
down to the
color,
last mole.
yeah, right, down to the last mole. Are you in favor of that kind of character description?
I think that depends on the writer. There are
Okay.
writers where they truly want for their readers to have a specific picture of the character that they have written.
Hmm.
It depends on the author, I believe. But for me, it's okay if they want to describe them down to the last mole, to the tip of their hair, then that's okay. But for me personally, I'd rather leave it to the imagination of the readers. Only when, like you said, if it is integral to the story, that's the time when I give specific descriptions of
Okay.
my characters.
All right. In short, to each his own. I mean, everyone will do it their own different way, and Stephen King does not write like Anne Rice, and Anne Rice does not write like Stephen King. So, and that's why they're two different, personas, and that's why two different sets of readers, enjoy them. Now, recently, I read a collection of your stories, dark stories, which is called A Curious Case of Twisted Tales. This is a collection of dark one shots. There are 7 in it. All right. I was wondering, can you tell me the genesis of that anthology? And is there a possibility in the future that one of those 7 standalones might get a new shelf life by becoming a full-length story in print in the future?
The story behind that. See, whenever I have writer's block, I don't know about others, but this works for me. If I'm
Hmm.
writing a novel and then I suddenly have writer's block, what I do is I write a one shot, a short
Okay.
story. I don't know, in order to just give me a new perspective of things, help me think of new plots for the novel that I'm writing. So, what I do is I write short stories. And that's the origin of the Curious Case of Twisted Tales. All of those I've written while writing the first book of Samantha Sleeper, The Ballad of Dead Birds.
Ah, that's a good. That's a good exercise. I read one time that, yeah, if you get stuck, in a particular part in your story, just do something else, and it will just probably, trigger your brain to think differently, at that blockage that you call the blockage. And of course, there's also a whole new different debate with regards to writer's block. Some people do not believe in it. Some people feel that you have to do you have to plot more so that you don't get writer's block. Some people feel no, you have to let the you have to let the words flow. I do not like to plot. I have to just write from the seat of my pants. But that's a wholly different debate, and I have a different question for that. But yeah, that's a good writing exercise, actually, and it's a good thing that you're able to utilize those one shots and collect them into an anthology. So
Yeah. And for
yeah,
the
and as
second
well.
question, if you ask if there's one of those that I might decide extend and turn into an actual novel, there are two actually.
Oh, okay, good. Are they have they been written or in the
I
process
have
of being
written
written?
a few chapters. I've written a few chapters for both.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, then I'll try not to ask which those are, and let it be a surprise for the readers
Yes.
and for your followers. Which of those will actually get a full length story in print in the future? Also, one of the stories in the anthology was named first place in the Wattpad's oddly worded challenge. What exactly was that challenge? It's an interesting challenge.
Well,
Oddly worded.
oddly worded. Usually, Wattpad ESL will give two words. As for that particular challenge, they gave us lurking and linger. So
Okay.
from those two words, you have to create a story, which is around 2,000 words, and that's
All
it.
right.
Just
Okay.
they leave it to you. They'll just give you those two words, but it has to be incorporated, or at least an essence of what those
Mm-hmm.
words mean should be present in what you've written. I believe that
Okay.
was Sync Manor.
Yes, it was Sync Matter.
Yes,
How often do they put those challenges up
once a
on the?
month.
Okay, once a month. All right.
Once a month.
Um,
They will give that challenge once a month.
cool. And also the winner of the Founders Choice Awards. I'm trying to remember if this is for the story or for the anthology itself.
For the story,
For the
One
story.
for One, it's an organization that often uh, gathers um, writers, and then they have this competition, and then just it's it started as a publishing company, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure what happened. They just focused on giving awards nowadays to
Okay.
writers.
Only
I'm not
on
particularly
one
sure
part.
about what happened. I think something did happen with the company, but
Oh God.
yeah, they had a challenge last year, November, for the horror. I think it was a horror short writing competition. So
Mm.
they said you can enter any story, existing or not, or if you want to write a particular story for this competition that we have. And you know what? I only started interacting with people, writers, other writers, publishing companies in Facebook last year. I think it was August of last year. One of my readers in Wattpad told me that I think it's best if you go to Facebook. I mean, meet other writers, because I only started writing again about 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I got stuck in Wattpad, and that's where I stayed there for as long as I can remember. And that's I didn't even know that there are publishing companies nowadays who will accept manuscript if you don't personally give it to them or something, because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
still have that old traditional thinking of how a manuscript should be submitted. I didn't know that there are small publishing companies nowadays that are willing to publish your work. Just send it to them online, and I think they do the reviews and then decide whether or not. So straying from that. Her name is Hannah Red Spring. She asked me to create another Facebook page, which is not my personal, and then just interact with other writers. That's how I found out about Fawan, One Fawan. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
name. And yeah, she said, just join, try to join. And luckily I won. And that's also how I found Eight Letters Publishing. I joined their anthology for single bells and nostalgic lovers. I mean, silver bells and nostalgic lovers.
Okay, is this like
And
a Christmas lovers anthology or
yes,
something?
it's a Christmas anthology. It's a short story, one shot Christmas anthology. And I submitted my work to them, and luckily I passed the evaluation, and it was published under Silver Bells Nostalgic Lovers, their one shot anthology. And after that, I told myself, you know what? Why not try submitting one of my manuscripts?
Nice.
And their call for submission was fantasy. It's, I just finished writing the first book of The Ballad of Dead Birds back then. So I don't know. I gave them the manuscript, and luckily I passed the evaluation. And now it's in print.
All right, and you're part of the Eight Letters family, so congratulations,
Yeah.
congratulations. In addition, there's another story in that anthology. We're going back to the one shots entitled Darren. It was a finalist for Halloween Vault 2022. This is another Wattpad Writers Award, right? But
Yes, it
for the
is.
Halloween season, yeah. Do they kind of like do this per season? Like there will be one for Halloween. There'll probably be one for Valentine. There
Yes.
might have
Yes,
been
yes.
one for Valentine's and
Yes,
then
they do that.
Christmas. Okay, they do that. All right. So if in case you're not on Wattpad and you want your work to be showcased, then yeah, try that particular platform, as it has helped a lot of writers as well get a little bit of traction with regards to readers and also opinions on your writing. All right. We've mentioned length earlier on, and you said that people were telling you, okay, your writing takes about 100,000 plus words. Some people feel that that's way too much for them to read. Some people also feel that 100,000, that's nothing. It's too short.
True.
But I wonder for you, would you consider a novella, let's say, a book per se? I know it's like 30,000 words or 40,000 words and above. And some of the classics that we know these days, like Kafka's Metamorphosis, Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, Jekyll and Hyde, Robert Louis Stevenson. These are just some of the classics that we call books now, but technically, in length, they're just novellas. So,
Yes.
have you tried revisiting probably some of your previous work that were short stories, and then you ended up, oh, looks like I can add a scene or two, and then it turns out to become a novella, or the other way around. It's that long or it's that short, but you feel that you can trim it down further and make it into a short story.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I have a one shot which is called The Day He Said Goodbye. And
Yes,
it's a very painful story in
it
the
is, and it's part of that anthology.
you read it.
I read it. Hashtag masakit siya. Hashtag bakit ka ganyan.
I mean, it turned into a novella actually, but I took it down because the growing plagiarism with Wattpad is just out of control. But when I wrote that, some of the readers asked me for the POV of the male and then
Ah,
POV of the child. And
right.
it just started off and then it turned into a novella.
That's a good thing about that's a good thing about ideas. When you are willing to go the distance and run with your ideas, you never know how much change is going to be, and that you're going to be incorporating into the story and change the whole thing. I've got issues with that particular story. It's like it's like I've got issues with the wife. I've got issues with the husband. It's like the husband is such a, I don't know. I don't even want to use the word, but he's such a, you know, he is such
Actually,
a he's such a
it used
character
to
that
have it was posted separately, but the
okay.
comments were too much, so I removed the original post and I transferred it inside Curious Case of Twisted Tales because I did not expect that reaction from my readers.
So what were the reactions, or
I
some
mean,
of
they
the
were
reactions?
angry. They were angry, and then one of them said, "She, I mean, does this woman even have a spine?"
Yes, hashtag hindi ako nag-iisa, meron din ako kasama. Same reaction from me when I read it. What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
It's like, what
but
age are you living? What age are you living in? You know, you do not need to depend on a guy to complete you. You can complete yourself as a woman. Please, katatapos na lang International Women's Day, grow a spine.
I
Oh
mean,
boy.
the comments. I did not expect it to go that way.
Wait, were the comments more
I
from the women or
was
more, or there were
what
also from guys?
the thing is when it was one of my writer's block one shot, which I call them. I was writing a scene in Samantha's Keeper where, let's just say, the Nephilim was torturing her, and then
Mm-hmm.
I needed some sort of basis or like a practice in writing of how she would suffer. And
Okay.
that's how the day he said goodbye came to life. I mean, it's not that I was trying to degrade women. I am a woman. Because one of the comments said I was degrading women. And I told them I'm a woman. I'm sorry. That was never my purpose.
Right, right. But but and this is not a shot to women out there. But you will have to admit that there will be some people out there, um, who are just so dependent on another person that they feel that if you take that person out of their lives, they can't function, right?
That's true.
And
That's
yeah,
true.
and if you encounter people like that, and if you happen to have read this particular story, and if you may be in, let's say, a similar predicament, I hope it inspires you to realize that you have to value yourself first. You cannot depend on another person to value you. You give value to yourself,
To
right?
yourself.
Yeah,
That's
regardless if you're a woman, regardless if you're a guy, regardless if you're trans, you're gay, or whatever, you give value to yourself first. No one can take that away from you, and no one should be able to take that right away from you either. All right. And
that's true.
we're going off in a different rant now, but let me pull it back. When you write, or let's say rewrite, do you have a schedule or a best time of day to write?
At night. And
Ah, okay.
it's not because it's silent, but that's the only time my toddler gives me the time to write or edit.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
my writing process it's always dependent on my toddler's mood. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if she's crying, then of course I can't write. So it's always at nighttime. I mean, I edit my work around I start 9 in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd stretch that until probably 2, 3 in the morning.
Okay. All right. When you do write, do you have any, let's say, rituals before you write?
Before I write,
Yeah,
coffee,
like some people would light a candle to signify that okay, it's time to write. For you, for you, it's coffee. Yes,
coffee. It's
yes, yes,
always
yes.
coffee. I don't
Yeah,
even think
that is the
caffeine
best
works
drink
on me
any writer
anymore.
can.
I've been drinking coffee for a very long time. I think I'm immune to caffeine.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's a good, yeah, same thing. I mean, I feel that I have to drink coffee, or of at least have one mug beside me, even if I don't finish it before I write, as long as it's there
Coffee.
beside. Kasi kasasabi pa lang.
Always
It's already
coffee.
it's already there. It's already there.
It's
Yeah,
already there.
I will have that when we're done with this particular episode. But at this time of the episode, I said the book is just about to be released, but by the time this one airs, book one of the trilogy called Samantha's Keeper is going to be out. So, can you tell us briefly what the book is about and who is Samantha and what about the dead bird?
Okay. Um, well, Samantha's Keeper started off as a challenge from one of my readers. I
Mm,
don't really write fantasy, truth be told. I focus
okay.
on horror and mystery thrillers. But then I also don't write romance. Anything fluff, I don't. But
Anything
one of
fluffy?
them said that I think it's a and I told them I don't know if I can pull it off. And then they
Okay.
said sprinkle some of your horror writing in it. And
Mm,
so since I wouldn't delude myself into believing that I can write fantasy with creating worlds and everything. So I focused on a character,
mhm.
a fantasy character. So Samantha's Keeper, it's not ha- I I chose a Nephilim. This character is not popular. I believe you only hear or see this kind of mythological creatures in online games
Yeah.
because um, what readers and other people are familiar with are Nephilims. Nephilims, they are the offspring of an angel and a human. But
Right.
a Nephilim is the offspring of an angel and a demon. See, I
Mm,
chose him because I'm a horror writer and I need something about a character where I can impose that dread, where he can do horrific things. And the fact that a Nephilim has a demonic side, then it works for me.
right.
That's why I chose a Nephilim.
All right. So, of
And
course, spelling wise and pronunciation wise, they're not the same. So, for those who are paying attention, yes, there
yes, they
is
are
a
not the
difference.
same. Truth be told, I did receive comments about that. They said, "Don't you mean Nephilim?" No, there's a difference between a Nephilim and Nephilim, and I think a lot of maybe a few don't know what
Mhm.
a Nephilim is.
Right.
And I've done my research. There isn't any novel written that involves a Nephilim. It's always the Nephilims. So I think it's time for this angel demon mythological creature to shine. And
Right.
I don't want to go too much into details about the book, but you asked me who Samantha is. Samantha is a complicated character. I made her complicated because it is vital to the story. And she's a traveling musician.
Mhm.
She grew up as an orphan. But like I mean this is something I've already posted, but she is the daughter of a very powerful family. I mean, this family has dominated the
Mhm.
business world and a lot of things for centuries. And that's because they have something with them, a powerful being that can grant their wishes or whatever they want. And they kept him as a prisoner for centuries. The thing is, they gave, when he started, when his power started to gain equilibrium, I mean, I'm not going to go into details about that. When his
Yeah.
power
I,
started to
I I
gain
know. Yeah. No,
equilibrium,
no, no, the spoilers. Yes, but just
yeah,
a good
that
overview of what
they
of.
gave him a shot for freedom.
Mm,
They gave him a shot for freedom and they said, you know what? We'll give you a chance to be free. You can think of 5 questions that you can ask the heir of the Delators, and if you win, you'll be free. So it has been going on for centuries. That particular task has been going on for centuries. And unfortunately, let's say in the modern day, the Delator heir, 2 of them failed. Because if you fail, you die.
Okay.
And
All
there was
right.
no one left.
Interesting.
And this is where
Uh.
Samantha comes in. Because they
Mhm.
needed an heir. And Samantha happened to be the daughter of the master of the Delators with a previous helper of the house. So when all of the legitimate heir failed, that's when they took her and just threw her inside a cave. So this it also has some sort of comedy in it. I sprinkled a few scenes because
Mhm.
this is a modern, independent woman
Okay.
in front of an ancient being who sees women as ancient men did. Like they are nothing but breeders, they
Mm-hmm.
are mindless, their opinion doesn't matter. So
Right.
this is a clash.
This
I'm
this
gonna
is the
end there.
this is a great book to to highlight for International Women's Day because it reminds women that that you are powerful,
You
that
are
you
powerful.
that you can go toe to toe with men in the workforce, and that you do not need another man to complete you or to bring the bacon home because you yourself can bring home the bacon any time of the day.
Is. And the thing about Samantha is she'll be surrounded by powerful men, men that have magic and everything, and all she has is her music
Oh,
because she's a traveling musician.
this is interesting. You when you said that Samantha was a musician, automatically violin came to mind for me. So I've been wanting to reread violin for the longest time because as a writer, we started as a reader, and our reading list continues to expand year after year. It will never stop. Our reading list, our TBR pile, our to be read pile will always be higher than our own houses. And you know that you have a stockpile of books to read, but when you go to a bookstore you feel like, I see that, I like
I
it.
need this.
Yeah,
What
I need this in my life. Sige, dadagdag na lang kita.
happens to
Uh,
me? I'd go to a
yeah,
bookstore and tell myself, oh, I have nothing to read. And then I have tons of TBR waiting for me inside my room.
exactly. That's my issue with that's one of my mom's issues with me with and the books. Like, why are you hoarding books? Are you gonna be opening a bookstore? Because you can with the books that you have.
True. That is
So
true.
yeah, and I guess that's how it is for people who don't see the value of books or who don't necessarily read. They feel that they're just material acquisition, but that books are more than just material acquisition. They're food for our soul as writers and as creatives,
It
so
is. It
that
is.
we cannot deny ourselves.
Books for
That
me, growing up is my best friend. I
I agree.
mean, it is my psychiatrist, it is my doctor, it is my everything, actually.
Exactly. It's the most basic form of entertainment before TV was
That
was
is
ever
true. That
was
is
ever
true.
invented, right?
Especially,
So
see, as for me, I live in the province.
there you go.
I think current electricity reached our province when I was in the fourth grade.
What?
Yeah, I'm from the
Uh,
deep provinces of Cagayan Valley, from
there you go.
Solana. It's a
Uh,
forested area back then.
I shy.
And the only way to survive the tediousness of everyday life was to either play outside or read a book. And I chose the latter.
Good thing you did.
Yeah.
Good thing you did. I was wondering, did you know when you were writing Samantha's Keeper, and I'm gonna steer it back to that, that it was going to be a trilogy and not a standalone?
No, I actually planned it for it to be a standalone because I was hesitant in writing anything that has to do with fantasy. Like I said, I'll not delude myself into believing that I can write fantasy because
Mm-hmm.
fantasy writers, it took them years actually. It took them a lot of researches. So I thought that, you know what, let me just give this to my readers and then leave it at that. And when they started reading it, they said that, you can expand this. And when I started editing the book, that's when I realized that, you know what? Yes, I can expand this to up to two more books because there are a lot of details that I wrote there that needed, it
Explanation.
needed
Yeah.
explanation. And I think the romance between these two characters was a bit awkward in the first book. That is something that I
Okay.
will admit. So I have to expand it in order for it to make sense.
All right. Yeah, because you can't rush romance.
You can't.
Or if you want, you really have to like contain it in such a way that it will work as a standalone. But great romances rarely work, uh, as a standalone, and it's really best developed
There should be
as
a
a
build
trilogy.
up. I know.
Yeah, there should be a
There
build
should
up.
be a
I
build
agree. I agree. So I was wondering, in the course of editing that, did you ever stress about word count for the day or word count for the week?
When I first started writing, I did, but as the days progressed, I just told myself, you know what? If I write 100 words a day, then that's it. Because I always told myself quality over quantity.
Okay.
I don't want to write a 1,000 word chapter that doesn't make sense or just goes in circles.
Mm-hmm. So quality over quantity. All right, I get that. That would be the mathematical ratio for all writers moving forward. Yeah.
For what?
But
Not to me.
I don't know. I mean, some people, for me personally, I do have I do have an Excel spreadsheet that I put how many words I have in a day, and not only that, I will shade that particular box. If I made it through my word count, which is above 500 or even 1,000, it will be green. If it's zero and I did not write anything for that day, it will be blue. So that's how I punish myself. So if I see that spreadsheet and I say I got more blues than greens, no.
As for me, I think I justify myself by the thought that, you know what? I have a toddler. She's by my side all the time. That's why I can't write.
that,
Even
that,
if I do have the time.
that's your everyone will have an excuse not to write, but but you have to admit when you do put in any specific number of words in a day, you feel like yes, may nagawa akong tama sa buhay
Yes.
ko.
There's a sense of fulfillment. I
Yeah,
mean,
there
there
is.
was a time where I celebrated, actually. I celebrated because I wrote a 6,000 word chapter.
Oh my God, you should 6,000 words in a day.
6,000 word
That's no
chapter.
joke.
And that was in one day.
That's no joke. That is no
I was
joke.
so inspired that I want to find that inspiration again.
Yeah,
I don't know how I managed to write that, but it turned out to be one of the best chapters of Samantha's Keeper.
there you are. There you are. Yeah, if you're in a role, it's gonna be hard for you to kind of like, cut the momentum right there and then try to
That's
pick it
true.
back up the next day. Some people would like that. Some people will feel that I cannot finish everything now and riding on this wave because I would want to keep or save some for the day after. So that might work for another writer, but for other writers, it may not work for them, or it didn't work for you, and you felt like you had to finish a 6,000 word
Yes, because
chapter in that
like
one
you
sitting.
said, it's difficult to find that momentum again. If if you're if you are inspired to write at that moment,
Hmm.
don't stop. Don't stop. Continue. Just continue writing. Because believe me, it's so difficult to find that place again.
I agree. I agree. But you know what? Regardless of whatever writing process you subscribe to, whether it's 500 words a day, 1,000 words a week, or 10 per hour. Wow, 10 per hour. Regardless, as long as you get the work done, I believe that is all that matters. I mean, Anne Rice does not write every day, right?
Yeah, she
But
doesn't.
look at her productivity. She's written more than 15 books, and
True.
had she not lost us, I'm sure she would have written so many more,
Yeah.
so
It's
so many more.
really, I was shocked. I
Me
was
too.
hurt.
Oh, you know what? I mourned for one week.
Yeah, I mean,
I could not read. I
all
could
of
not
them are leaving
write.
us.
Yeah.
So soon, I believe, probably Paulo Coelho will soon leave us too.
Oh God, no! Please not. No, no.
I mean, all
We're
of
not
them are
ready.
going. I mean, who's
Yeah.
left?
Yes. We know that life is fleeting, and I guess as an author, that's our, when you think about it, that's what we're going to be leaving out to the world. That's our pamana. That,
True.
um, as much as we can, and I don't know if for non-creatives they would understand sometimes the pressure on a creative or an author and or an artist to finish the work in the soonest possible time, because you might be called on to do something else the following day, right? We're always
Yeah.
trying to preserve the sanctity of that momentum, and that's why we do what we do. And and if you are married to a creative, or if you share your house with a creative, I do hope that you give creatives a little bit more, for people out there who are listening and watching, please give them a little bit more patience, because that's just how we are. Okay, we feel that we have to finish the chapter before dinner. Everyone's hunkering down for dinner, and they couldn't wait, because they're waiting for you to come down from that study or that room
No.
that you've holed up yourself in, and they're hollering, "Ano ba? Kakain na tayo. Stop writing, stop sketching, stop painting." But that's just the artistic temperament. So if you live with an artist, that's how we are. Pagpasensyahan mo na kami.
Yeah, true. And if you live with a writer, you find them talking to themselves sometimes. Don't think
Or
that they're
staring out into
crazy.
the window.
They're
Yeah,
just
don't.
plotting. They're just plotting
Yes,
something in their head.
true, true,
That
true.
happens to me.
Yep. Please bear in mind, hindi po kami buang. Mabait
Hindi
lang
po kami
kami.
baliw.
Hindi kami buang, hindi kami baliw. We're just imaginative people who talk to ourselves, who imagine that we have characters living in our living room or watching Netflix alongside with us, and we can ask them, what do you like? Who do you like? What do you like to do? What are you currently doing? All right. So, in line with currently doing, I know that you have Samantha's Keeper Book One to promote and to tell people more of. What else is keeping you busy these days?
Well, these days I used to work in our local municipality,
Mm-hmm.
but when my daughter lost her nanny, I mean, it's difficult to find help nowadays,
Oh yeah,
especially if you're in the
yeah, for
province.
sure.
Some of the nannies, they'd rather stay in Manila. That's where they accept the
Right.
job. So it's
Really,
really difficult. It's
my
difficult
perception
because
is that the nannies this time around, in Manila, are hard to come by because they'd rather stay in the province. So it seems that I have a different perception.
no, actually, those that are here in the province, they'd rather go to Manila. I don't know.
Okay.
It's the appeal probably of the city, but it's very difficult to find help. So about a year ago, I lost my nanny, so I had to quit my job because I have two kids, one 10-year old and one 4-year old. Back then she was 3 years old, and this baby, she's different, Sizey. She cries like the world is about to end, and
Okay.
I mean, it's like a crying seemed to be a hobby that even my mom, her grandmother, can't stand her. So I have to. I'm the
You have
mom.
to. Yep.
I'm the mom. I'll do it. That's what I told them. So I quit everything and I focused on taking care of her.
Hmm. Yeah. What if she grows up one day and tells you that, Mom, have you met Luis? He's my friend that stays with me in the room. Sorry, there's no other name that just popped in. I just said Luis. So that would be something for you to write about, I swear. My child's imaginary friend. No wonder you kept crying, because he kept picking on you when you were a kid.
I actually thought of that. You know,
Okay.
one time I convinced myself that someone is picking on my daughter. I had I held a seance.
Oh, you
Truth be
did.
told, yeah, because it's not normal the way she cries. I mean, but these are other things.
But they said
Yeah,
no.
that will be. I
They said
don't
that
know
there
what
was
to
no
say.
go. But you know what?
She tells
I
me.
but you know
She comes up to me and tells me that I don't know.
well, you know what? I'm sure that your guardians are much more behaved and much more powerful over there. And whichever guardian that you subscribe to, I'm sure that they will always keep you protected and keep you safe. But for your fans who are discovering you now, and for those who want to reconnect, where can they learn more about you and your work on social media?
Okay, they can find me on Facebook, which Joe writes, and of course
Mhm.
Wattpad. I also have my Twitter account, my TikTok account. All of them are named under Joe writes. So
Instagram, are you there as well?
I'm also in Instagram, and that's also
Okay.
under the name Joe writes.
Joe writes. All right. Awesome. Awesome. That's a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Joe, for
Thank
or
you,
JA
Casey.
for being here with us today. I had so much fun talking about
Same
writing
here.
craft and horror. I wish you the best in the next two books of the trilogy, and I wish you much creativity, much inspiration, and much courage in what you envision and plan for yourself. Also, thank you so much to Spine Books, and we'll probably have an announcement in one of the upcoming episodes pretty soon. Now, if in case you are a fellow creative and you would like to be featured on the podcast, feel free and just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, in the authors unite, keep creating, and we will keep reading. Stay safe, stay creative. Namaste, and blessed be. Thank you.
Blessed week. Bye.
That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.